Don't ever forget.
Don't ever forget that on October 8, 1871, the Great Chicago Fire erupted and burned down the American city of Chicago. The fire lasted for almost 3 days and it killed approximately 300 people, destroyed 3.3 square miles, which is roughly 9 square kilometers of the city, including 17,000 structures, and left more than 100,000 residents homeless. The fire began in a neighborhood southwest of the city center. A long period of hot, dry, windy conditions and wooden construction prevalent then in the city led to the conflagration. The fire leaped the south branch of the Chicago River and destroyed much of the central Chicago, and then leaped again to the main branch of the river, consuming the near north side. To address the situation, help flowed to the city from near and far after the fire. Amazingly, the city government improved building codes to stop the rapid spread of future fires and rebuilt them rapidly to those higher standards. A donation from the United Kingdom spurred the establishment of the Chicago Public Library. And what caused the Great Fire? Chicago Tribune reporter Michael Ahern wrote a story noting that the initial spark that began when a cow kicked over a lantern whilst a woman was milking it. Despite not being named in the story, Mrs. O'Leary shouldered the blame for the Chicago Inferno, as her barn was the origin of the blaze. Mrs. O'Leary declared that she was in bed when the barn fire started. A rather colorful character named Daniel Pegleg Sullivan stated that he witnessed flames arising from the O'Leary barn, which prompted him to try and free the animals, clearly pointing a scorched, guilty finger in the direction of the poor, innocent Mrs. O'Leary. Now, here's where things become a bit sketchy. There were speculations that Pegleg himself had started the fire by dropping a pipe or knocking over a lantern in the O'Leary barn. He was notorious for taking hay from the barn to feed one of his cows. In 1997, Alderman Burke officially exonerated Mrs. O'Leary and Daisy, the cow, of any wrongdoing in the largest fire Chicago has ever seen. And would you believe Mrs. O'Leary's house was untouched by the flames? It is true. Due to the direction of the wind, the O'Leary home remained intact, but Mrs. O'Leary's spirit did not. She was devastated by the accusations of responsibility for the fire. Consequently, she lived the rest of her life in despair and sadness. An alternative theory, first suggested in 1882 by Ignatius Donnelly in Ragnarok, The Age of Fire and Gravel, is that the fire was caused by a meteor shower. This was described as a fringe theory concerning Biela's comet. At a 2004 conference of the Aerospace Corporation and the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, engineer and physicist Robert Wood suggested that the fire began when a fragment of Biela's comet impacted the Midwest. Biela's comet had broken apart in 1845 and had not been observed since. Wood argued that the four large fires took place all on the same day, all on the shores of Lake Michigan, suggesting a common root cause. Eyewitnesses reported sighting spontaneous ignitions, lack of smoke, balls of fire falling from the sky, and blue flames. According to Wood, these accounts suggest that the fires were caused by the methane that is commonly found in comets. Due to historical significance, the University of Illinois and the Chicago athletic teams are named the Flames since 1982 in commemoration of the Great Chicago Fire. A Philadelphian novelist wrote a novel in 1912 entitled The Financier that portrays the 1871 fire. And in 1938, a film was produced under the title of In Old Chicago, which portrays the O'Leary family as the main characters. Despite anomalies, the Great Fire of Chicago helped and pushed the Philadelphian and American governments to develop the first building code in American history. And don't you ever forget that. And don't ever forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Don't ever forget